succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be repotting my new aloe striatula, commonly known as the striped stemmed aloe, into a new pot because its roots are starting to come through the bottom of the pot, as you can see there. And I wouldn't normally repot plants, well, aloes at this time of year, but this particular aloe is extremely cold winter hardy aloe, and it's one that can actually grow outside in a UK and Irish climate, and that's why I'm going to repot this one. I want to give it a bit of a bigger pot, and then I'm going to be overwintering it in my unheated greenhouse, one of my unheated greenhouses, and it would do very well. It's actually very cold tolerant to about -14, as long as it's protected from excess rain, and also it's planted in a very well drainy gritty soil. And the trouble is with Ireland, and especially Ireland, but the UK as well in general, is that we do get a lot of rain in winter, and if this is not put in a sheltered position, although it can take the cold, a lot of rain is going to collect here in the rosette, and it can cause rot as well as root rot if it's kept soggy. So a very well draining soil. So if you have this outside in a UK and Irish climate in the winter time, you need to have it in a sheltered position away from excess rain, and also in a very well draining gritty soil. It loves a very sunny position. It's one of the aloes that can take plenty of sunshine. It grows naturally in South Africa, and it's native to the mountains of South Africa at very high elevations where it gets very hot, dry summers, but it also gets frost and snowfall in winter. So this is why it's a winter hardy one for the UK and Ireland. So very happy to have this, said to take -14, as I mentioned, if it can be planted in a very well draining soil and protected from excess rain. So if you have this growing out in a bed outdoors in your UK and Irish climate, then you need to make sure it's in very gritty soil and it's either planted under a tree or some type of shelter to protect from excess rain. Other than that, it's extremely hardy, very beautiful aloe, and it's called the striped stemmed aloe because along its stem it has beautiful dark green stripes going all along it. Very, very, very beautiful and very special, very large growing aloe. Over time it will form a mound of beautiful clumps of rosettes. So it's an absolutely gorgeous specimen if you've got the space for it to plant out in your garden. And I was very lucky to see a beautiful specimen of this gorgeous aloe growing in Mount Stewart Gardens here in Northern Ireland. Absolutely beautiful gardens, and they had this beautiful aloe growing in a gorgeous mound that they grow out all through the year in an Irish climate, and it does very, very well. As I say, it's planted out in a bed but in a very gritty soil. And the flowers on this, it has beautiful yellow flowers on it. Hopefully this will flower one day. I can't show you a picture of what the flowers look like because I haven't obviously experienced it yet with this plant, but and I can't show pictures from the internet because they'll take my video off. But if you want to Google it, aloe striatula flowers, you'll see how lovely they are. They remind me a bit of Nicophora flowers, a bit, you know, the red hot poker ones, but yellow. Absolutely gorgeous. So sunny position, well draining soil, protected from excess rain, and you can't go wrong with this very winter cold hardy aloe. So here we are. I've got the next pot up here, and I'm going to be removing the old soil and putting the new soil. Now I'll show you the soil mix I've made here. I've made a very well draining soil mix of about 50% loam. In this case I'm using John Innes No. 2 loam soil, with 20% grit, 20% perlite and 10% horticultural sand, and I've given it all a really good mix around, so it's going to be very well draining. And here we go then. Now I'm going to show you the repotting. So turn it round. I'm going to gently squeeze the pot so to loosen up the soil and the roots, rather than, you don't want to pick it up and yank it out. You want to make sure you loosen it up first and then gently hold it at the base there, just to gently pull it out. Maybe give it more of a squeeze. Loosen up the roots here so it comes out. What you don't want to be doing is holding it from the base and pulling it out. You want to make sure you're very careful because it's a fragile aloe, especially when it's still quite young. Oh, look at that lovely roots. Wow, look at that. And obviously I'm going to try not to disturb the roots. You want to check there's no signs of pests and things like that when you come to repot. So I'm just going to very gently put off this old soil here. I've got much more of a grittier soil I'm going to be using with this, because I love to use a very well draining gritty soil with my aloes. And I have made a complete care video on how to care for aloe. And if you want to see that complete guide on how to care for aloes, do check that out. I'll link that video up above and down below. And I've also made a video on how to remove the dead leaves from aloes, because as aloes grow, the lower leaves will often die off like this here. And I've made a video on that too. I've made quite a few different types of videos on aloes, so do check them out, and I'll link them down below in the video description. So here we go. Now I can hold it at the very base there, as long as I'm careful. Give it a shake. Wow, look at the roots, guys. Absolutely gorgeous root system. And I'm happy to say I don't have to do any root pruning on this. Sometimes aloes, and it's the same with agaves and also haworthias and gasterias. They do have very fleshy roots. And often the roots will die off and die back, and they'll produce new roots all the time. And you have to, whenever I repot them, I often have to give the roots a good pruning. Sometimes if I have to do a big pruning, I'll leave the plant unpotted after I've pruned for about 24 hours to 48 hours before I pot it up again. But these roots are absolutely gorgeous, very healthy plant here. So just going to remove this, push all this old soil to the side, and then get filling up the new pot. Now that's the pot there, filled with a bit of soil at the bottom. And then I'm going to very gently, again, pick this aloe up. It's fine to pick it up now like this because it's lightweight. Make sure all the roots are put in carefully. And then I'm going to put some of the soil all around it. So I can, if you're holding it, as I mentioned, very carefully hold it like that. And I'm going to lift it up a little bit as well to make sure that all the roots are going to be covered and in the soil. Lovely. And as I say, I'm using a very, very, very well drainy gritty mix. And this, obviously, this plant will be absolutely fine to go outside for the spring and summer. As I mentioned, it is very cold hardy, and I would actually have this outside in our yard if we had somewhere to protect it from the rain, because unfortunately we don't really have any shelter, so an unheated greenhouse is going to be perfect for this. But if I had somewhere a little bit sheltered from the rain, I'd be having it out in the garden, because it's very cold hardy. There we go. And I want to make sure that I just gently tuck the soil all around, so it's nice and firm in its pot. You don't want to be pressing down too hard. You don't want to squash any of the roots. So it's got a great root system. Very happy. And as I say, this lovely aloe is one that our friends Galena and Chris gave us from their own big Aloe striatula plant. So they gave me one from theirs, which I'm very happy about. It's very special. And an aloe we haven't got. Those of you who know my videos and collection, we have a lot of aloes in our collection. But this is a very extra special one indeed. So there we go. That's all tucked in. I'm going to use this little brush now just to brush any of the excess soil off. I just want to mention as well, because obviously this time of year is the time of year that I normally start to bring in a lot of the cacti and succulents that are not cold hardy, such as the euphorbias. But the weather here in Ireland has been incredibly mild for this time of year, for October. And we've had a very, very, very wet and windy week, which is one of the reasons why I'm having to film in my office today and not the greenhouse, because it's just too wet and too windy outside to do it. But luckily the weather has been so mild, so I haven't had to worry about bringing the plants in yet. The nights haven't really dropped below 10, and the days have been 17 Celsius and 10 Celsius of a night. So next week I think it's going to be the week I'm going to be very busy bringing plants in. And if you want to know about overwintering cacti and succulents, then I have just finished writing an article on my website, desertplantsofavalon.com, and how to prepare your cacti for their winter, and also a bit about winter cactus care as well. So do check that article out, desertplantsofavalon.com. and it's go into the articles on the homepage and click on it, and it should come up. And I'll also put the link down below to that as well. And I've also shared it on my community page here on YouTube. So if you go onto my homepage on my YouTube channel, click on the community, and the link to that post will be on there as well. Happy days, all potted up. Now I'm just going to put a bit of top dressing with a bit of grit. Now top dressing with a bit of grit here. I use horticultural grit just to put a bit on the top of the soil. You don't have to top dress plants, but I think it finishes them off nice. As well, it helps to keep any of them annoying fungus flies and things like that from the top of the surface of the soil. There we go, all done. All potted up. What a stunner, what a big beauty. And the label on there, Aloe striatula. Absolutely gorgeous plant. Oh my gosh. Woohoo, that's this beauty, all potted, and sure you agree, it looks far better. And this is going to be going into our cold greenhouse for the winter. I think it's going to do really well. And hopefully I shall get to see it in bloom, maybe next year or the year after. Very beautiful. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and for lots more tips and tricks on how you can care for and grow many different types of cacti and succulents. Then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And for more growing tips, as I mentioned, do please check my website out, desertplantsofavalon.com. I've got many articles on there on how to care for and grow many different types of cacti and succulents. I want to wish you all an incredible plant-powered